If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
The badass.
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder, your favorite true crime momcast. I am Rachel.
And I am Heather, and we're the hosts. And here on Like Mother, Like Murder, we bring you mom-related crime content weekly. From missing moms to murdered moms, moms who murder, survivors, and more.
You guys, if you are returning, welcome back. We love having you guys here. And if you're new and this is your first time listening, thanks for checking us out. It's exciting.
Yeah, check us out. Check us out.
Check us out. And real quick, so shout out to the best listeners ever. Anyone that's here, like, we appreciate you guys so much. And we love anytime we get messages from you guys, any sort of like comments or likes or shares or anything on our socials. I swear every time that someone shares something, my heart just goes friggin' flatter. Yeah. Today though, so we're going to be diving right into the episode, so we're going to get into that quickly. But first, Heather, I needed to read, we got a shitty review. So, like, shout out to the awesome listeners, and then there's this
The
one.
opposite of a shout out to whoever this guy is.
Yeah. Opposite shout out. All right, let me
it.
read that to you. So, we got a 2-star.
Okay.
I didn't even know that was a thing. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you either like someone and you give them that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Or you just fucking hate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got a 2-star. It says, just tell the story. Just tell the story. I would be embarrassed to admit I didn't know what podiatry was as a grown adult. I was trying to listen to the most recent episode and they just keep talking and talking, sidetracked about dumb things, and I just want them to tell the story and get to the point. So this episode, we're going to get to the point.
Okay. First of all, I am not ashamed that when someone says podiatry, I have to think about it for a second. Because, whatever. It's not like I went to school for podiatry.
Okay, valedictorian. You knew what podiatry was. You were playing.
I mean, but I'm, like, literally think about that. Do you think, like, in our 9th grade health class, they said, oh, and by the way, the study of feet is called podiatry. Do you think they talked about that in our whatever biology class? No, they fucking didn't.
The point is,
So,
when we
first
got
of all-
into it, we knew.
Calm down. Second of all, Rachel has said it before. If you want a podcast like that, there are a million other like literally the true crime podcast genre is inundated. It is oversaturated. We know this. So we know that if we are not your cup of tea, that's okay. Like, that's perfectly fine, because we are, as Rachel said, plenty of other people's cup of tea. Now,
Yes.
I also have to say this. This person is referencing the last episode, which I'm sorry, we got pretty much into it. Like, that was there. We were not
Loggy-gagging.
First of all, we weren't loggy-gagging, and we weren't lollygagging. We, like,
Neither.
got into that episode. And so, if that's not your thing, that's fine. But, like, this just kind of, like... And there's also nicer ways to say, hey, I'm here for the case.
Yeah, just message us about it. No, not even. Here's the thing. If you guys want to just listen to the case, You can go listen to the case. Like Heather said, there's a million that you can go find, but you can also fast forward through it. That is an option. And if you don't like the coverage of our case, then there's something else you can complain about. I don't know. But I don't know. When I read it, I was like, here we go again. And here's the thing, okay? I listen to podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Yeah. And there's so many that I listen to that have no banter.
Right.
It's a single host, or maybe there's two hosts and they don't do that. And I appreciate that, and I can enjoy that. Yeah. I have a lot that I listen to that do have hosts that banter back and forth a little bit. And, you know, yes, there has to be a level of respect or a level of decency when it comes to those kind of things. But when we get into it, that's what we do. So, again, you guys, if you're here and you enjoy it, thank you. We love you guys here. And if you don't, there's so many. There are so fucking many.
It's like you bought a ticket to a rom-com movie and then you're mad that there was no, like, grotesque horror scenes. Like, this is...
Right.
We don't hide the fact of what we do.
Yeah.
We know that is what we bring to the table. So, okay. What was the name of this person? What was, like, their little title?
Oh. You want to shout that out?
I do.
Fly. Jess Fly.
What?
Jessfly.
Just Fly? Well, you can just fly right out of our podcast.
Just fly right out of here. Bye-bye. And here we are with another long banter because of you, Jess Fly. All right, we're moving on. Layla was born on August 5th, 2002 in New Jersey. Her mother, Jennifer, and her father, George, were living with Jennifer's family at the time, and not long after Layla was born, Jennifer and George split up. Jennifer lived with her parents, and so that's where Layla lived when she was younger. Her grandparents were very, very involved in her younger years, and they helped with her immensely. Because Jennifer, she was a working mom. And so Layla was there with the grandparents. They had this really, really awesome bond. And that was very, very strong. And it meant so much to Layla. They ended up moving around a little bit. They ended up in Florida for a little bit of time. And then they ended up in Tennessee. And that's where they would stay. That's where they would create a life, expand the family, and plant their stakes. And rightfully so, Layla's grandparents ended up moving to Tennessee to be closer to her and her half-siblings. At the time of Layla's disappearance, she was part of a blended family dynamic in many, many ways. When Layla was young and moving around, Jennifer was in a relationship at the time, and this man, he played a huge role in Layla's life growing up, but he didn't stay. And she has two half-brothers, and that came from that marriage as well. And him leaving, it is something that's talked about that really, really messed with Layla and hurt her. Growing up, she was described as being very artistic. She would perform in school plays. She was determined and strong-willed. And when she was just 18 years old, she became a mother to a beautiful little girl who we're going to call N. She was only 2 years old when her mama went missing. At the time of Layla's disappearance, N was being taken care of and lived with Layla's mother, Jennifer Santanello. And Layla was living with her then boyfriend, Michael, at his parents' house. The reason for this was Layla was fighting addiction at the time of her disappearance. And that is why N was staying under temporary custody of Jennifer. And I want to discuss this quickly because there's a problem that we see very often, which is extremely unfortunate and just wrong. But if Layla was reported missing and had no struggles with addiction, would things have been taken more seriously? Would the efforts of looking into her vanishing into thin air have been met with the possibility of foul play early on? it's just very unfortunate, the reality that families are met with when it comes to these horrific situations. And it comes down to this. This is how I see it. My daughter is missing. Every other detail should be used in the assistance in finding and bringing them home, not narrowing down who is worthy or the likeliness, or, the option of looking for her.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that law enforcement has written off Layla's disappearance, and I don't mean to paint it in that light if that's what it seems like I'm doing. I just want to make it very clear my stance on the fact that, addiction or not, she deserves to be found. Mm-hmm. That's that. From all accounts I came across, Layla was struggling really hard with postpartum depression after having N, and she seemed to be running with the wrong crowd. In an interview that I listened to, I heard them talk about how much she was against drugs growing up. And it's just so sad to see. It's a huge problem all over the place that doesn't seem to be getting any better. So with that said, I want to add a couple of things here really quickly. 1 out of 10 women experience postpartum symptoms. And in some study, that number is 1 out of 7. Everyone's postpartum looks differently and is unique to each mother's journey and experience. And a lot of young mothers and first-time mothers don't understand it or don't understand the signs or the significances of things that are happening, what they're feeling or how they may be acting.
We can both vouch for that.
Right.
Personally.
It's so damn hard. And we've talked about it. We've talked about it on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And it's something that when you're going through this, you can be a completely different person.
Totally.
And so I'll say it here. Drugs suck. Drugs fucking suck. And I hate them. And I hate that they hurt people and they change people. And it hurts the people that have to watch their loved ones struggle through addiction. But it's never the reason to think that someone is less or, less deserving of coverage or media or an investigation or any of that. Okay?
Well, and it's
I know.
not,
I'm beating it up, but I felt like it needs to be beat up.
The truth is the idea that a young mother struggling with postpartum would self-medicate with non-prescription or even prescription if you're, abusing the prescription drug, would self-medicate because they are not feeling themselves is completely understandable. Right. And I'm not going to say common, but definitely more common than you would think for someone who's going through a situation, especially not understanding what's happening to them mentally, physically, all of that, to self-medicate, to try to make themselves feel better. That is completely understandable. And like you said earlier, it is not an excuse to put off their case. It is just something you take into account to help push the case forward.
Right. Yeah. And it sucks knowing, as people were saying, how much she was so against it. And I don't know all of the details on her life and what she's been through or what she's been exposed to, but she was so against it. So for her to go from that one side to another is just horrible.
I mean, postpartum can do that to you.
Exactly.
Postpartum can fucking do that to you, dude.
The last thing before I get into the time of her disappearance, I want to remind everyone listening, Layla's case is still an open and active investigation. I'll be sharing things that I have seen or heard, read, looked into, but I'm not a professional investigator. I do my very best to bring correct and real information, but please be sure to do your own research and look into the details of Layla's case and any other that we cover if you're seeking more. We are still ultimately an entertainment podcast when it comes down to it, but that doesn't change the fact that we're two moms with these mics and a platform that have a passion to share these cases and missing persons information and advocate for victims and raise awareness where we are able. All right, we are going to get into the disappearance. So 3 days before Layla was reported missing, Jennifer's mom received a message from Layla's Facebook account asking if Layla was in jail. Jennifer responded to the message pretty much asking what are you talking about, And she actually called around to see if she was in jail, and she knew that these messages were coming from the either boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, Michael, at the time, because he had access to all of her accounts. So when the message came through, she knew that it was him. Like I mentioned earlier, Layla was living with Michael at his parents' house. She ended up leaving one of the nights right before her disappearance and not going back. And this is why Michael ended up writing Jennifer in the first place. So later that day, Layla reached out to her mom and told her that she was fine. She was staying at a friend's house. She didn't have her phone or anything, and that's why she was reaching out on someone else's phone. But it was her that was talking to Jennifer.
Okay.
Yeah. And so in the messages, and they share these, but their last exchange of I love yous and Layla's, the last message to her mother being I love you so much more. Mm-hmm. So with all of that, Jennifer thought Layla was okay because she said that she was. 3 days later, it was actually Layla's stepmother, Brittany, married to her father, George, who called to file the missing persons report on Layla. And that was on June 27th. And since then, this family, from all around, like I said, it's a very big blended family, they've been fighting to find their girl. It was first said that the last sighting of Layla was originally at an ice cream shop in Kingsport, Tennessee. It was the Marble Slab Creamery, but that was later debunked. Like a lot later. And it's still unclear, like, what exactly, like, the details on all of that are, but from my understanding, what happened was, so the police looked into the lead and talked to the worker who said that she had seen Layla, and what ended up coming out over time is that apparently it was a lady who was having a rough time in her own relationship. She left the place and she left her place. Let me explain this. Someone went into the ice cream shop, no shoes, just kind of like roughed up, and this person thought it was Layla.
Gotcha.
After Layla disappeared, she kind of said like, hey, someone came into the ice cream shop, it was Layla. Well, it wasn't. It was someone else who was struggling with stuff. But the fact is that this person, Layla's face is being plastered around town, and saying like her last sighting was this place at this time and this date, and this person, she didn't come forward for a very, very long time.
The
and
worker
it made people
didn't?
No, the actual girl who went into the ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, because the worker did think that it was her when she had told them. And we say it all the time, if you see something, say something. And that's what this person did, thinking that that was her.
Sure.
And she told them that she had came into the ice cream shop. She used my phone. She said that the person was gonna come and pick her up, but couldn't come get her, so that she was going to walk to another store 5 below and go get shoes. And so this whole time, the investigators believed that this was Layla, and that was the story that they were like kind of like sticking with, of it being the last known sighting of her.
Yeah.
But this lady, she was eventually found, and it wasn't her.
Right.
In a video that Layla's mother, Jennifer, made on social media, she talks about the fact that she thinks it's very weird that this person didn't come forward sooner about not being Layla. And the conversation surrounding this, and what I want to talk about, the importance of stuff like this, is how things like this can really hinder the investigation.
Yeah.
Having a false sighting or inaccurate sighting happens. And like I said, we say it all the time. You see something, say something. That is a way to help. But it can also be harmful to the investigation if, in fact, it's not the person they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And in this situation, this person, she knew. She knew that Layla disappeared. She knew the whole time that it was her that was in that shop. And so why did she not speak up and be like, oh, hey, just so you know, that was me. Just want to let you guys know that it wasn't Layla in this shop. And it kind of like made people question her, and as if it was kind of like a plant. Like as if they were like, hey, go in here and, don't look like you're all roughed up or whatever. And then.
So when they
like send them on a different goose chase.
Yeah. So when they found out that it was misidentification of Layla, and this lady says, oh yeah, no, that was me. She said, I knew it was me the whole time. I just never said anything.
So I don't think it came out exactly like that, but it was more along the lines of, I knew it was me in the shop that night, but I didn't feel the need to say anything.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I guess. I mean, if you're...
Are you saying, like, how did she know that Layla was missing?
How did she know that she had been misidentified as Layla?
So the cops found her based on the telephone. So she used the worker's phone that day. So they got into contact with the person who called. They didn't know Layla, and they were like, what are you talking about? And so once they finally were able to talk to her, then it, changed. But it took forever for them to even do that. Yeah. So it just irritates me because time is important in missing persons cases. So wasting time looking in the wrong places is freaking awful. And that's what happened right there.
Psst, hey, everyone. It's just us in the middle of one of our own episodes. We have huge news we want to share with you all. We now have ad-free listening and bonus content.
Yep, you heard that right. We have a supporters club for exclusive VIP OG listeners like yourself.
Or if you just really hate ads, you can join us as well.
If you join the supporters club, you will get ad-free listening on every episode, one bonus episode each month, and a few other perks here and there.
You can find the link in the show notes to check it out.
All right, back to the episode.
Which leads me into the searches that they have done to look for Layla. Many different searches have taken place and been put on by different people, different departments. So yeah, law enforcement, they've conducted searches for Layla early on. But more than that, the family and Layla's loved ones have put together search efforts on their own. And the community have come together to really support this family in hopes to find her. So searching, covering grounds, putting up flyers anywhere that they can, all of those things. One of the most recent, if not the most recent, was a search that was put on in November of last year. So November 2024. Someone was hired to come with their cadaver dogs, and it was supposed to be this 5-day long search, possibly more. And what ended up happening, long story short, without all of the information, because it's a whole situation, Heather, ultimately, it seems that Jennifer was conned by this man. Yeah. And I don't know all of the details, so this is my opinion as I followed the updates. But what I took from it was he was hired for something and he did not follow through. So if that is in fact the case, that is not cool. This guy, he was found by, so many people try to be helpful or assist the family, right? Yeah. So someone reached out to her and told her, we have this guy, he's legit. He's able to go and perform this search. Well, he got there. He ended up leaving. He said that his wife was getting threatening messages. He ends up leaving that day. So he leaves. Well, he doesn't come back. So now she's out all of that money. Right?
What the fuck?
Yeah. And this is all super that happened in November. So It's very, very recent. And it's something that they're still trying to figure out the details on all of that. Yeah. And that's why I said if in fact that's what happened, what in the frickin' world, okay? Yeah. But here's something that irritates me and breaks my frickin' heart, right? So ultimately, Layla wasn't found. Jennifer was out this money that had been raised by people on social media following Layla's case, okay? This is sidebar, but I follow a lot of people on social media. I follow a lot of people who are searching for their children, searching for answers in their loved ones' cases, searching for anything and everything. And nothing will break my heart more than watching a mother or a daughter or a son or a father or whoever apologizing for something out of their control.
Yeah.
Watching someone cry and say sorry to the masses in the community because they don't have answers, saying sorry because there's no update, saying sorry because they took the day off from posting because they are tired.
Yeah.
My heart hurts for those who grieve and apologize to others for it.
Yeah.
Watching Jennifer, this mother, say sorry because she wasn't getting back to people on social media in a time of her own grief, I just hurt watching those things. Back to Layla, though. So after Layla was reported missing, Heather, you're about to lose your damn mind. After she was reported missing, people started receiving Cash App requests from Layla's account. First, it was confusing, I'm sure, and then it turned horrible as the messages on the requests were awful, awful things to read. One of the requests in the beginning were someone asking for $100, and in the info spot, it had the letters TWLMG. And Jennifer believed that that acronym could have meant they won't let me go.
Oh my God.
And then, like I said, they escalated. A request for $95 was sent, and the message, Heather, said 15 minutes or you'll find her in pieces. Yeah. And I know, go ahead.
So I have a question. When she was last seen at this motel, she was alone?
So she was on her own based on what they were saying. When she left Michael's house, the conversation or the talk of what is believed happened was she kind of like couch surfed with some friends for a little bit. And then she ended up at this motel and was staying there with a friend. But so she was alone when she was seen by the people.
Sure.
I should say.
And then the Cash App, I don't know how Cash App works, so you're going to have to tell me.
I'll do my best.
Well, if we know more about podiatry, then that's fine. I'm shaking my fist for those of you who can't see me. How does Cash App work? Like they said, like these requests were coming from like her Cash App account.
Yes.
So like it says like this is a request from Layla, and it says
it's a specific request. So something you do have Venmo, right, or Zelle or something.
Yeah.
I can send you money. I can also request money from you, and so you put the money amount in the section, and then you can write something in it. And so that's what would happen is the request would be, say, for $100. And then in the info section, it would say those things. And I didn't have this in here, but the family. So, and these were going to different people. So some went to Jennifer, the mother. Some went to the stepmother. And I'm sure other people as well. But they would like send $1 back to be able to write a message. Like, give me proof.
Right.
That she's with you or that she's alive or whatever it may be.
And I mean, in some way, shape, or form, because unless they have her cell phone, like she would have had to log, like I guess the reason
had
I'm
to have
asking
known
this was,
her.
like had to have known her, had to have had access to her phone, had to have gotten into her account somehow. Yeah. Okay.
And I know, so this part isn't like the biggest deal in comparison to anything, but the word pieces was spelt wrong. And so any chance that I can talk shit about someone, I just, I need to throw that in there. But we know who it was. Around this all happened around 9 months. Well, it happened earlier on, but around 9 months later of Layla being missing, Michael David Thompson, her old boyfriend that she lived with and then left, was arrested for posing as her and sending her family those disgusting and disturbing Cash App requests.
What the fuck? That's so messed up.
It is awful to think that someone who, even if things go wrong, even if you can't stand someone, even if you are no longer with whatever it may be, the fact that you could stoop that low to do those things.
I mean, he is exploiting the fact that if they were still together or they had broken up, whatever, he exploited the fact that she is missing and this family is obviously like going through it, and he goes, oh, you know how I can make a quick buck? Like, scam on vulnerable people. What in the hell?
And like Jennifer, she talks about this because her TikTok platform, which at the end when I talk about all the different things that you guys can do to help or follow or be a part of in following Layla's case, she's very, very vulnerable and open about everything. And this is because she wants to be raw and authentic and like sharing every single detail because that's important to her, right? And so she talks about the fact that he was invited into their home. He played a huge role in Layla's daughter's life, you know? And it's like she was just taken aback by the fact that someone who she fed dinner, she celebrated, she planned birthdays for, she did these things for, could do this to her and to her family.
So wrong.
Yeah.
Is he N's dad?
No.
Okay. But he, being part of Layla's life, was being involved.
Yes.
Like, how could you do that? Like even to this, like, I mean...
See, and they had lived together for a while. It was very recent that Jennifer had gotten the temporary custody, which is a whole different story. But so Layla and Michael lived together with N, and that was happening before.
At Jennifer's house.
No,
or at his parents' house.
On their own. They had lived together for a little while, and they lived nearby family. So it was like Michael, Layla, and N, and then that ended up stopping, and then they moved in with
his
parents, and Jennifer got Jennifer.
Yeah.
So with all of that said, and talking about him. Layla's stepmom says that she knew it was him behind the messages, and she even called him out on it, and he was in denial the whole time, right? And obviously it came out, it was him, and they knew that. The friends and family, though, they truly believe that Michael had nothing to do with her disappearance. They say that he may know something more that he's not sharing. Mm-hmm. But they don't believe that he actually was the one to do anything or did anything to her or that
he's
kind
just
of a thing.
Exploiting the fact that she's gone like an asshole.
Right.
But,
he struggled with addiction as well, and that was one of the things with their relationship that she had helped him to get clean. Layla in his life had helped him in the beginning, and so I don't know his state of mind during those messages, but I can make an assumption, and maybe that's wrong of me, but, you know, I don't know. Either way, what a horrible thing to have done, and I'm just so glad that they were able to connect it and find out that it was him and hold him accountable.
Because they've already had one major false lead. They don't need another.
Yep. But that was back in the beginning of 2024 that he was arrested. And then nothing since has led us closer to finding Layla or finding answers whatsoever. Or at least nothing that's been shared with the public. I'm unsure if like law enforcement has anything that they're sitting on, but as of right now, this is where this stands. Layla went missing July of 2023, and she's still missing. Right here, I want to read a quote from the stepmom. Her name, I think I mentioned it earlier, but her name is Brittany, and it says, "It's been 8 months, and there haven't been any sightings, phone calls, or anything. And so the only thing we can really believe is that she isn't here anymore. I'm told that there's a 5% chance she may walk through the door. That isn't good odds, not in my eyes. But until we have evidence she's no longer here, we're going to hold on to that 5% of hope until we know for sure. Until her body is recovered in some way, we won't believe she's not here until then." And that's why we need to continue to share Layla's missing persons information. You can dive into many different theories, and people have. Yeah. Of course, you have to look into every direction, at every detail, and continue to try to piece things together. There have been thoughts and theories of her running away, of her being kidnapped, of her being human trafficked, the possibility of a serial killer, the possibility of her no longer being here. But until Layla is home, or there's answers to why she isn't, the family won't stop. Okay? And that's where we come in. And that's where you guys as listeners can come in as well. Podcasting, the internet, social media, text messages, all of those things are instant. They are fast and they are easy. And they're used on a daily basis to share information all day, everywhere. So we ask of you guys to please take a moment to share Layla Santanello's missing persons information. You can share this episode by sending it to friends, posting it to your social media. However, you can share the flyers that you see with her face plastered all over them. The more who know, the more this spreads, the more likely we can assist this family in bringing her home. A few other things that I want to share that will be in the show notes for you to check out. There are GoFundMes created in efforts to raise money to help search with the search teams, legal fees, all of those things. And there's also Facebook group pages that you can add to stay up to date with everything that's happening, any updates, or how you guys can help as well. The last thing that I want to add before ending today's episode is the program that has been created in honor of Layla. This is partnered with the Mental Health Transformation Alliance. The program is called Layla's Hope, and it was started by her aunt, Stacy Morgan, her aunt. I don't want you guys, I'll say it both ways for you guys.
Don't come for us.
The main goal of Layla's Hope is to connect families and young adults with the proper resources, and I want to read their mission statement here. Our mission is to ensure that missing, runaway, homeless, and street youth / young adults who have been subjected to or are at risk of being subjected to sexual abuse, human trafficking, or sexual exploitation, and their families have access to resources and support that rebuild connections and develop a sense of safety, hope, and leadership. The program is currently in development, and it's like a pilot program, but the more that we see and talk about these things, the more we know that we need programs like this. The last thing I want to add is this quote from Jennifer. It says, "My heart won't let me stop. Layla didn't have any quit in her. When she had a goal in mind and she wanted something, she was going to get it. And when it comes to her and fighting for her, I'm not going to stop either." And that's, you guys, we can't stop. We ask you to not stop either. So please help us in sharing Layla's story to help bring her home. But that's where it's at. We don't have any more information on her disappearance right now. We can talk about theories and what, could have possibly happened. There's so many thoughts here. But that is where it stands. And we just need to continue to share her face until we can find her and bring her home to her daughter. Get her the help that she needs if that's what it is as well. Just depending. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. You're trying to talk. Go.
No, I'm also trying to formulate my thoughts because I don't want to go on a complete ramble, but I have two things that keep floating through my head. One being advice from our very awesome, amazing podcasting queen, investigative superstar Jules, is that when you are investigating and things just it's none of it's making sense, you have to start back at the beginning. And I see that in a case like this where there's already been two situations that have led down a path that is not going to take them right to the right place. So like you mentioned, I really hope there is more evidence that maybe the authorities are not sharing for good reason. Let's hope that, they have leads that they don't want to share with the public so that it doesn't get, messed up in some way. But I really do hope that they can start from the beginning of, where the motel was and just kind of go from there, because she, at this point, what it seems like is she just disappeared off of the face of the planet. And, like you said, there's many theories that are going on, but I really hope they're looking at this like they would the missing persons case of a middle-aged housewife of 5 kids with no history of any kind of diagnosis or whatever, because like you said, she deserves that. And I think that the biggest thing too, after when you read the mission statement of and remind me again what the name of it is. It's Layla's
Hope. Yes.
Layla's hope. People have this tendency, and we know this is true, to, if you are in a situation like you have problems with addiction, like you have a mental health diagnosis, like you are unhoused, anything that doesn't fit that nice little pocket of society, simply the color of your skin could potentially change how an investigation proceeds. And the truth of the matter is not that I don't think every case should get the right kind, get all of the coverage so that more eyes on her face, more eyes knowing the story, it obviously will help. But those are the folks, those are the people who need that extra little bit because they don't have the same fucking resources as everybody else.
Right.
They are unhoused. They do have a mental health diagnosis. They are struggling through addiction. And they're in a vulnerable state. And it's not their fault. It is not their fault that they're in this vulnerable state. Period, point blank. I don't care. It's not like someone wakes up one day and decides, I'm going to be an addict today. Any more that they can control what color their hair grows, okay? It's not their fault that they're in this vulnerable situation. So you can't hold that vulnerable situation against them. And because they're in this vulnerable situation, like that mission statement said, it makes them that much more. It makes the risk of human trafficking, of kidnapping, of anything like that, makes the risk higher, because we have seen this before. We've covered things like this before, where people, horrible, psychopathic, absolute trashes of human beings, will specifically seek out members of those populations because they know
Right.
they have a better chance of getting away with it, because that population does not have the resources of, say, and it's mind-boggling that people still don't understand that, and that we still see, the fact that literally this is a case where there is no leads. So let's hope that there's leads. In the back of my mind, I want to say, maybe there is a lead and we just don't know it because the cops are keeping it quiet. But the fact that this isn't being plastered across national news, the fact that and thank God for things like, social media, where Jennifer can get on and get exposure for her daughter, because if it wasn't for that, how would anyone know?
Right.
And so you're just it's not I don't want to say anything bad about Gabby Petito, and especially the Gabby Petito Foundation, who has done their damnedest. And it's such an amazing thing to shed light on stories that do not include, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
They've done such an amazing job of collaborating with Black and Missing, with
MMIW.
Missing Indigenous women and people, and because they realize that these people who are in more vulnerable situations, they won't always get the coverage that Gabby got it. And so my point is, if your first instinct isn't to, I need to shout this loud, and I need to, or even if your first instinct is, well, she was an addict, you need to change your mind right now. You need to understand that should not be the first thing that you're thinking. You need to think about the fact that she was in a vulnerable situation, and that makes this that much scarier. That there's someone out there taking advantage of people in vulnerable situations.
Right.
That's the first thought that needs to go through your head.
Right.
Okay. Tangent, ramble over.
So a couple things to say back. So first of all, the Gabby Petito Foundation, you couldn't be more right on the fact that they didn't choose this.
Right.
They've had to live with the fact that you know, their stepdaughter, their daughter got the most,
Right.
which she deserves.
Oh, yeah.
But they can recognize and they can acknowledge that everyone deserves that. And that is why they're doing what they're doing to, you know, make that difference and help in those situations. Yeah. Now, this may be unpopular, and I apologize because I always will play the devil's advocate for certain things. Choices are made, okay?
Yeah.
I have lived growing up with family of, I've had a lot of addicts in my family.
Same.
And listen, choices are made. And there are times that, you know, you really can look at it and say, well, fucking why did you do that? You know,
there's
but
consequences
when you get to
your
actions,
exactly. Yeah.
Once you are held by that and you are in there, you're fucked.
You are.
Until you find your way out. And this Layla's hope with these resources, yes, they can help the person who's going through it, but it can help the families.
Yes.
To help their loved ones. And that's what they need. They need someone who, you know, if you're not aware or you haven't been exposed to these things and you don't know what to do, they want to guide you in that direction to help you to know how you can help your loved one through this time. And so it's so necessary and so needed.
I agree with you so much, because that support for family and friends who are trying to support someone going through addiction is so important, because it's very hard to, as a family member, do you just say, well, there's nothing I can do, but you also don't want to enable, but you want to support, but it's a really, really tough place to be.
Right.
And the other thing that I do want to say is, when you make a choice, and like, let's say, I mean, there are people who know they're addicts, so they make conscious decisions to, I do not go to bars because it leads to bad things. I do not go to these situations because it leads to bad things. So that's great. And that's good. When you're young, though, that conscious decision is obviously a lot harder to make. And also on top of that, regardless of the decision you may make, the consequence should never be the loss of your life.
Right. Yep.
No one deserves that, right? So I think that's the biggest thing when I tell people, like, you shouldn't, like, your first instinct can't be, well, they were an addict. It doesn't matter.
Guess what? That's my daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, guess what?
It
That's my sister.
matter.
That's my mom. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
it should
that's
never
what it is.
be, that should, literally, if it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, I hope that we see something very, very soon for this family.
I hope we can you'll just bring an update, like, literally, like, later today. There's been a change in the case. And I'm not sure, I can't even remember if we actually met Jennifer.
Yes. So we were at CrimeCon, and like I mentioned, so she was at CrimeCon, and I just saw her walking, and this is not me. Look, I'm the walk the other way person. I'm the person who's like, oh wait, I'm too scared. I'm a shy little girly. And as soon as I saw her, my entire being pulled me towards her, because I had been following Layla's disappearance. I have been, you know, we do this, and we hadn't talked about her daughter on the podcast. We haven't talked about or shared her information. And it always makes me question, like, how do I choose what I'm doing? Like, when do I choose a person? And it's like, in hers, I'm waiting to hear more. You can't wait to hear more. You got to put it out there. She needs all the coverage, all the awareness that we can spread. But so anyways, look, I am just going off now. But we saw her, and my body was just like, you need to go over there. I walked up to her and literally was like, I need to hug you. I need to hug you. She cried. I cried. Everyone cried.
And then we're all just sitting there,
and we're all just
in
sobbing.
the middle of, like, and literally in front of, like, the main part of CrimeCon. Yeah.
And everyone's trying to do a photo shoot, and I'm like, I can't.
Everyone's trying to, like, do by, like, this CrimeCon art.
Yeah.
Art. And we're just sitting there, and clear, like, if you guys have never been to CrimeCon, it's big. It's big, and there are a lot of friends and loved ones, and obviously, like, a lot of people there for different foundations advocating for different things. Like, there was a whole wall of missing missing
Unsolved.
peoples.
Right.
And Jennifer was clearly like I think she had literally just gotten off the plane or something. Like, she literally was like,
I tackled
whoa.
her. Yeah.
And it's overwhelming as fuck. And you could tell. And I think, Rachel, even though I know your brain is like, I can't, I can't go up to people. I think your empathic heart overpowered that initial instinct. And you could tell that she just needed like a hug, and she just needed that like reassurance, like, you're doing the right thing for Layla, and this is, you're a fucking badass. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure we said those words to her. You're a fucking badass. So I think that it was good that happened, and you could just see throughout the weekend how determined she was to make sure that people knew Layla's story. So yeah,
that's what we're doing. We're trying to make sure people know her story, and we need your guys' help with that. I can't say it enough that we need your guys' help with that when it comes to sharing her pictures. And if you're local, if you're in the Tennessee area, you guys, or anywhere, she could literally be anywhere right now, sharing flyers.
Someone knows
if you're
something.
Able. Someone definitely knows something.
Someone freaking knows something.
Right.
It's not like she got like abducted by an alien, like just like straight out of that motel. Like, someone knows something.
Right. And this like brings me back to the fact that like this family has been doing so much to raise money to try to hire people. I know that different like PIs have been hired in different areas, and the community they've come together to help raise money, and social media has come together to send money and spread awareness and all of those things. And it takes me back to that search and the fact that like if that money, it was like I think she had said like almost $5,000, like 4,600.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, and so it just all of it.
That person,
so.
I mean, that person needs to, dude. You need to come forward and figure that shit out. Otherwise, you're gonna go to jail. That's some like major fraud shit, dude.
It's just crazy.
And again, crazy. Taking advantage of people in a vulnerable situation who are just trying to find answers for their missing loved one.
Right.
If you did that purposefully, you're a piece of shit.
You
need to rethink your life. And you know what? Those dogs deserve a better person in their life. So how about that? Jerk.
Big jerk face.
Let's just end on the fact that cadaver dogs deserve
good owners.
Good people in their life.
Yes.
So.
And we need to get some more of them out there to do some searching and, find answers. So that is it for you guys this week. We will be back next week with another episode for you guys. And until then, go to the show notes.
Yeah.
Go follow those. There's Facebook pages. She's all over Instagram, TikTok. I'm assuming will be banned by this episode coming out, or maybe it won't. I have no idea what is going on in life.
I think we will know more in 2 days from the recording of this episode.
Yeah. So we shall see, but wherever you can, if you're able, go and help. And you are. If you're listening to this, you have the ability to share it. Do that. All right. We will talk to you guys next week, next Tuesday. Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
The Homicide Tree, a new true crime podcast limited series coming November 29th, 2024, wherever you get your podcasts. How do families in the trenches of grief and despair navigate how to seek justice for a loved one? Where do families go after a loved one is missing, murdered, or kidnapped? This holiday season, a group of women in true crime podcasting have come together to raise money to help those in need of guidance while they navigate the unthinkable, seeking justice and advocating for their loved one during trauma and tragedy. Shores of Strength is a nonprofit which aims to be a guiding light to those who need help. How can they share their story? Who can they get to listen to them? How can they raise money for legal fees? By donating to Shores of Strength, you're helping victims this holiday season. Each donation is a symbolic ornament placed upon the homicide tree in remembrance of someone's loved one who should be here this holiday season. Each episode is a different case, a different person who should be here, deserves to be here, but isn't. And each case is told by a host of a weekly true crime podcast. Subscribe to the Homicide Tree wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes will be available at once on November 29th. This is a Podcasters Give Back fundraiser produced by Fire Eyes Media, LLC, and all money donated goes directly back to victims with the nonprofit Shores of Strength. And remember, you're wanted, you're loved, and you deserve to be here this holiday season. Stay safe out there.